In this presentation, I want to talk about a very common phenomenon in this world today, which is loneliness. Statistics show that about 30% of the world is lonely. So I'm going to give you a few practical steps on how to solve this very common issue. First off, if you're a very lonely person, it could be because your search specifications are very narrow. So my first suggestion is to try to broaden what you're looking for. What if you're somebody who has this innate desire for social status? Imagine attending a party and spotting someone in the center basking in the limelight. Their popularity sparks envy in you. That's the life you desire. You yearn to be part of a specific circle, an exclusive group that exudes a sense of status. And this group, whether defined by taste, fashion, career choices, religious affiliation, or any other marker, has a social hierarchy that you strongly want to be a part of. If you're this kind of person, this is really going to add a level of challenge for you, because now you're limiting yourself to a very specific and narrow demographic. It's also very shallow and self-interested as a motivation. So when I was 21, what snapped me out of this pursuit was the realization that one of the main reasons I was so lonely was because of my desire for social status. My goal was to only make friends with people who could make me look better, ultimately. My desire to have a sense of community and belonging was really more like the desire for gang membership, to be part of some interesting, cool group. So it was status-based. And so when I became fully aware of this, my goal to grow a high-status friend circle started to look too superficial for me. So I soon let it go. I let go of the idea and broadened my search criteria. So I suggest giving the status pursuit a rest, because at the end of the day, not a lot of people are going to notice you hanging out with your friends or care who you hang out with. Even if you're a classy artist or a rock musician or something. I mean, there are plenty of famous people out there who have a lot of friends because they hang out with all sorts of people, not just cool people. And I don't think this ruins their image. If you really want, you can always just buy status from your social media. For your social media, using status boosting services like SMM This is your social life. You're growing here. So instead of trying to look a certain way by hanging out with certain people, you're going to have a lot more fun with people who actually have things in common with you or who you're comfortable with. So try making friends with people who are less attractive. Make some geeky friends, make some younger friends, make some older friends. Just welcome in everyone you can resonate with, especially those who share the same interests or core values. Some people have really strong core values. They think politics is really important. They have a responsibility. They think people have a responsibility to make the world a better place. Other people value family or morals. So look into those things that matter the most to you, or it might be hobbies. The next thing I encourage you to do is consider becoming more relatable. If you don't have a lot of interests or hobbies, or if you aren't familiar with the things that are going on in the world, then this is another limitation. Think about why other people would want to be your friend and spend time with you. If all you do every day is work, go home, smoke weed, and watch Netflix, then what else is there about you that would make people want to be your friend? And you don't have to become a people pleaser, because that's not good either. Then you're just lying to yourself about who you are and what you like. But I suggest picking up a hobby or two and some subjects that you find interesting, and you'll be setting yourself up to make new friends. And just make sure it's something you genuinely are interested in. Otherwise, you'll just end up boring yourself with the wrong hobbies and the wrong people. If you want to explore a new culture, it's a good idea to do a bit of research before jumping into a social setting. Because with art culture, for example, or politics too, artists and politicians are very passionate about their work, and they're always busy. So they want to stay within their established friend circles, and they don't make time for anything more than that usually. And not a lot of people are willing to take you under their wing and just teach you everything you should know about a culture, unless they see a lot of potential in you and find you charming. You would otherwise have to show them that you're very serious about learning and acquainting yourself, becoming familiar. I know not everyone likes to read books or take in a lot of information on a regular basis because they think they don't have time, but without exception, you can make some time to study one or two subjects at once every day. Even 15 minutes a day will get you somewhere. People like Tai Lopez read a book a day. He often reads 3 books a day, actually. If you follow him, he actually reads 3 books a day. He speed reads and he smart reads when he's eating breakfast, during lunch, or before his nap, and before bed. And successful people do this by just reviewing the table of contents and only choosing to read relevant chapters and paragraphs. That's smart reading. On the internet, there are countless YouTube videos and forums for every subject. We know this. But I personally like books because books have a beginning, middle, and end, which means that the author has found a way to explain almost everything about a subject. So you may not have to do very much digging after. And unlike YouTube videos, books also have to go through a publishing process, which means that the information inside tends to be more legitimate. I always try to listen to my books, whether I do that through Amazon's Audible app or by listening to YouTube lectures with my phone screen off, using Brave as my browser, because standard YouTube otherwise doesn't let you listen to videos with your screen off. Brave also has a built-in ad blocker, which works against YouTube ads. So the average book is about 7.5 hours long. So reading at an average speed for an hour a day is enough to finish a whole book in about a week, which is pretty good. That's much more than the average American, which is one book, about a book a month. Another aspect to making friends is the going out and networking part. In my previous version of this lesson, I included suggesting getting a networking card. Networking cards can be helpful because they allow you to give away your your contact information passively without having to ask for theirs. But I eventually came to learn through experience that networking cards don't help much when you give them away to people who you don't interact with on a regular basis. Because the truth is, the interest that people have in you when you meet them for the first time really won't last longer than a day if you don't find a way to put yourself in a regular routine with them. It's because you're just too much of a stranger and they have too much going on in their life. So this is a really crucial step. People are so comfortable with their social circles and so occupied with their own lives that they just don't care about or remember that nice stranger they met at the local band show last week, or last weekend. I mean, they have some interest, but it's just not enough to get them to reach out to you. It's usually just a matter of laziness. People want to hang out with you. They thought you were cool, but life gets in the way and they can't find time. They don't know what your schedule is. They don't know when it's going to happen. And it never ends up happening. So it's not that you're not interesting enough for them. It's just that you're not convenient enough because you're outside their routine and vicinity. You don't go to school with them. You don't work with them. So for this reason, it's so much easier to make friends at school or work. Which brings me to my next point. You have to do something interactive if you want to make friends. It'll help you so much. If you're going to school, start with the people who are taking the same classes, or take a different class that's more interesting for the sake of being around the right people. If you're not in school, I don't recommend that you sign up for college just for the sake of making friends. That's way too expensive for this purpose. But your workplace is a huge wellspring for friendly relations. We spend 6 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week around the people we work with. So it makes sense to just put yourself around the right people. Even if you're not working full time with these people, even just to spend 1 or 2 days a week with them is enough to build rapport and familiarity and to build a bond. And so friendships blossom easily and naturally this way. Unlike the occasional club event or concert, your day job gives you innumerable opportunities to talk to people. And it's not awkward because you're at work. So you have to talk to people to get tasks done. And you also expect, instead of awkwardly jumping into a silent moment on the bus with somebody or at a club, you're expecting each other to talk to each other more and fill out the silent gaps usually when you're working. Otherwise, it's actually awkward to not speak. It can be a little bit strange to not speak if you're working with someone. A number of people on YouTube lecture about this, arguing the various reasons why your coworkers are not your friends. But if you look at the real practical world, most people's friend circles were developed from work, and people have no problem maintaining these circles. Yeah, there are some conflicts that can happen if there's a interest in status and hierarchy and your friend becomes a manager, that sort of thing. But there isn't much competition when it usually comes to low-wage cafe, restaurant, or bar jobs, which is what most people work at. The potential antagonists in those places are the managers. So when employees are on the same hierarchy, they're just workers, employees, baristas, and bartenders and stuff, it's usually okay. Pretty relatively same level playing field. If your job doesn't surround you with the right people, as I said, I recommend changing jobs or getting a second job just for the sake of being around people you like. Working many hours a week with people who didn't share the same interests and passions, for me, was truly the main reason why I was so lonely for so many years. As soon as I found the job working around like-minded people, my loneliness very quickly dissolved within days. Now, outside of work, another great way to make friends is through meetup groups and hobby classes. When I say meetup groups, I just mean any organization or group that gathers people together for events on a regular basis. This is where Facebook is really useful. So a lot of Facebook event organizations only do events once a month, but that can sometimes suffice. This is why you do need social media a little bit like Facebook to really meet people for organized events. And places like, things like Meetup, that online service that allows you to create groups and host local events, is also a perfect way to meet people. By now, there are probably a handful of similar services available. And whether you go through Meetup or Facebook groups, almost every hobby has its social group or courses you can join or sign up for so you can learn and play and mingle with like-minded people. I mean, there's a group for almost anything you can think of, and a lot of those groups do have events on a regular basis. It's the interactiveness and ongoing nature of these groups that builds acquaintanceship and makes friend-making very easy. Taking something like martial arts, dance, or electronic music production classes or camera workshops once or twice a week is perfect, but twice a month might suffice. Otherwise, places like concerts, bars, and clubs are usually very transient. You talk to someone after a rock show and you think you hit it off really well, and you did, but then they take 2 weeks to accept your friend request, and they hardly remember you. So you send them a few messages, you talk for a bit, suggest to hang out sometime, and it never ends up happening. The only cafes, bars, and clubs that will make you solid friends, and I know this from experience too, going to different places, are the ones that bring regulars once or twice a week. Then you have more chances to acquaint yourself with the same people, right? And they will reciprocate more and more to you that way. It's got to be a repetitive thing, right? You got to be like in someone's way, in a good way, and interesting at the same time. Then you can start creating that bond. Because I've been to different places regularly. I used to regular numerous clubs and hobby groups, basically underground art groups, going to these venues and stuff. And the only ones that really stuck, the people who really stuck, were just the random bars that I found that happened to just bring the same people there. And we had some things in common, and I would just talk to them every week. And lastly, so on how to do this, one way is this little tip. Some specific things you can say to people if you're not naturally outgoing and find it hard to start a conversation with strangers is when you're going out, you look for a venue with a lounge or a separate room where people chat. Because some clubs have a space, like a lounge space or a smoke room, more like or a space outside where people are smoking and hanging out. Because clubs and bars are really loud, right? So you want a place that's quieter, that you can hear the person, you don't have to yell at them. This is a better environment to meet people than crowded areas that are loud, as I said. Some cafes have bar tables and stools right in front of the barista area. So what this means for you is that you can talk to the employees much easier because you're sitting right in front of them. This is easier than restaurants. Of course, most bars are designed like this too. But some cafes, you can sit right in front of the counter because they have a bar section and bar stools and stuff. So what better regulars are there to talk to than the very people who work at the places you visit regularly? So once you find the lounge area or you sit at the cafe bar table in front of the workers and the baristas, you can relax and wait for a point to place yourself in existing conversation. You can pay attention to conversations happening around you, and you look for that opportunity to chime in on a topic you're familiar with. And when you hear something interesting, you can use it as a springboard for conversation. This is actually known in social arts, the practice of social arts. This is known as an observational opener, right? You're opening a conversation with an observation. It's kind of like a functional opener. The functional openers, you use them to start a conversation by asking about how to do something. You want to know where to go, where is this place, how to get somewhere. But observational openers are also very useful. So for example, you could say, hey, Are you guys talking about that new John Wick movie? And if they respond positively, just add your own thoughts or opinions and just keep the conversation going that way. This bridges the gap between the opener and the conversation so that you can keep the conversation flowing. And what do you know? This is actually called, that second part of adding your own opinions and asking more questions is called a bridge in social arts. So at this point, just gauge their interest. If they seem receptive, you can gradually join their group. If you're out at a bar or a club, you can kind of join the social group, join them in conversation. Or if you're at a cafe or sitting at a bar, you can continue talking with the people, with the baristas and servers, the bartenders, and just go from there. And of course, eventually you're in a position to grab their contact information, which is important. Otherwise, you'll lose the person maybe. So there you have it. These are my few practical steps on how to make friends efficiently, effectively. So good luck.